Hello, everybody. My name is Adam Thorne, and welcome to the Australian Aviation Podcast. Now, as you will all be aware, I think it was 6 weeks ago, two months ago, we had a bombshell that was dropped on the industry, which is the exit from Qantas of Alan Joyce. And the industry still reeling from that.
I don't know
trying
how
to cling on.
It was the biggest story of the year until now.
Until now, because in many ways, it's like an earthquake has ravaged the city and there's almost nothing left, but now everything is gone because I'm very sad to announce the exit of Chris Fenton from Australian Aviation. This is a disaster. What the hell are you doing?
Abandoning us. That's what he's doing. He's betraying us.
He is betraying us.
The smell of avgas is too strong, and I'm going back to the airlines.
You're going back to the airlines.
I'm going
Not
back
your
to
favourite
the
Air New
airlines.
Zealand. You're probably still on the payroll anyway, aren't you? Yeah.
I wish I was on the payroll at Air New Zealand. No. I am joining the team at Batik Air Indonesia and Batik Air Malaysia. I have been appointed as the New South Wales ACT BDM, so I will be looking after retail travel agents for Batik Air Indonesia and Batik Air Malaysia, making sure they know about the product, sell the product, promote the product.
See, what I think's happening here is in your quest to have every job in aviation, to have done them all, we were simply a stepping stone to tick the next one off the bucket
Not
list.
at all.
But
Absolutely not at all.
he still hasn't driven the planes. Is that next for you, Chris?
God, no. Definitely not. Don't want me in the cockpit. No way.
Well, I would say, and we will say thank you again to you later, what an absolute privilege it's been. So, Chris, I don't know, what is your job title technically here?
Here at
they don't mean
Momentum
anything,
Media.
do they?
My job title here is Partnership Manager Space and Aviation.
So technically, Partnership Manager Space and Aviation, but in reality, he's done everything. He's got half my stories for me. He's like a wire service. He also gets me loads of scoops because he's got like 100 times more contacts than me, but actual real people on the ground that know what they're talking about. Obviously, you've become a podcast host. You once sorted out a shower for me at one of our events. Like, there's literally nothing you can do. And I would say, and I don't know if
There's literally nothing he can do.
Can't do. But if you are, you should have a consultancy service. If you are walking through an airport and you want someone to speed up that process, Chris Fenton is the man to do it because he literally knows everybody. And he'll be like, all right, my love. And the next thing you know, you're getting you're on a better seat and everything's sorted in your front of the queue.
But I'll let you in on a little secret. Half of them I don't know. I just go up and say, exactly as you said, all right, love, how you going? How's your day?
Yeah.
Just have a conversation with them, butter them up, and look, is there any chance you can get us something a bit more forward, maybe a window seat?
Oh dear, no.
Trick of the trade.
And also, it helps you've got fame behind you now and genuine celebrity.
Well, fame that I owe to you and the team here at Australian Aviation. I will not forget where I've come from. Look, it is sad to be leaving the team, but as I've said to Adam and to Jake and the team here, I'm always happy to come back as a guest host and get me on board anytime you want.
We do have these Christmas podcasts we do where we round up the year. Now Phil will actually kill me for saying this, but they're pre-recorded. I know, we make out it's all like,
Thank God I don't have to come in on Christmas Day.
Yeah, no, that's what we used to do. We'd make out, it's like, oh, well done for coming in on Boxing Day. It's like, oh, anything for the show, Phil. So yeah, it's a trade secret, not to be repeated. But we do pre-record and we look back at the year. We really can't look back at the year without you because you've been here all year. Jake, do you have any words of appreciation? Maybe any feedback on Chris's time here? Be nice.
Well, look, I think
Nice.
look, I think a nice toupee would probably go well. Yep. And as just a bit of. Maybe trim the beard to here.
That's not
and get
the sort
like
of
a,
feedback
get
I was
like
looking for.
Get like a. It's you could be almost as handsome as me, Chris, with a bit of
Awesome.
effort.
I would personally pay you $2,000 to get your beard trimmed just like Jake and get a picture with you and Jake. 100%. That's genuine. Now, just to wrap up this tiny section of the show, even though you may technically be a partnership manager, I've considered you very much a journalist. I consider you one of us. And when journalists leave a publication, it is tradition that they get like a cover. So we have, now admittedly, you're going to have to look past the Officeworks bag, which is very poor. But we do have you here, a little gift. to commemorate your
Promo for
exit.
Officeworks.
Yeah.
Officeworks. Oh my God, that's awesome. That is gold. Fenton follows Joyce out in the biggest shake-up of aviation in a generation. And my picture with Joycey. Enoch, who is our IT guy. Can we see that on the camera there?
Adam, why did you
That
get...
camera?
Wait, you put him next to Alan. You put him next to Alan Joyce. You trying to cost him any future
Well,
opportunities in the
initially,
industry?
So-
Joyce is my friend.
We had to do a
That's
bit
a good photo of me.
well,
Where did
we-
you get that one?
we
Or,
had
or
to
have
do
you
a bit-
just imposed my head on something?
So we had to do a bit of Photoshop work because technically I think that was Alan Joyce and his husband on their wedding day. So we had to I had to Photoshop out the the flowers and stuff. So a bit of work went into it, but it looks,
That's gold.
They look
I
good.
love it.
They look like like your pals.
Well, funnily
together.
enough, I do actually have a suit that looks just like that. I've got a tie that looks like that, and I've got a
Yeah.
shirt that just looks like that. And I wouldn't mind being Joyce's husband with all the money that he's got. So no problem at all.
But look, in all seriousness, Chris, you will be missed. We are not sure. We're not sure how we will get on the podcast without. It'll just be me and Adam jabbering at
gonna be
each other.
awful, isn't it?
Our ratings are going to go down the
They are
tubes.
gonna
No,
go down.
they won't.
They
And
will.
look, I'll let the viewers in on a few more secrets. Phil's
God.
really going to hate me, isn't he?
Oh God.
So here at Momentum Media, our parent company, we have a lot of publications across all different sectors. We've got lawyers, HR, finance, real estate, defence, cyber security, space and aviation, and all of our brands have podcasts that go along with them. A lot of the podcasts get recorded here in the studio, and some of them use teleprompters and scripts. Some of them use don't always get it in one take and have to re-record and things like that. But I have to say, we're known as the pros
That's
here.
right, yeah.
Like one take, we don't use teleprompters or scripts. We just get on with it. We have a good laugh, have a good banter, and away we go.
Do you think we can? Do you think we need to get all of that bleeped to avoid giving away our secrets?
Bleep, 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 bleep. No, not at all. Like, we actually have fun doing this podcast. There's great banter between the three of us, and it just feels natural. Like, it's fun. Like, we record the podcast on a Tuesday. Tuesday is always a highlight of my week because I just get to come into the studio and talk
Yeah.
the talk with you guys for an hour while we record the podcast. So I will miss you both dearly and the podcast. I will be following and listening in my new role. And I will come back from time to time.
Definitely.
hopefully.
We'll definitely get you back 100%. 100%.
Oh, if he's going to be listening, we can't trash talk him after he's gone.
No, you cannot. I will comment.
Our first podcast episode without that guy Chris. God, he was a
We hate you,
disaster.
didn't we?
Yeah.
God.
Twee twee.
Well, and we've also got another goodbye as well, but it's a behind the scenes goodbye.
It is.
So what you may not realise is we sound moderately competent, particularly if you listen to the audio version, and that's because we have we have fantastic AV producers that make this look good, but polish this up, or that record this. And as you may notice, of those that are listening watching on YouTube, we do have a podcast studio, but basically we're just in a bog standard office, and it has been built up slowly but surely.
Yes.
By all of our producers that work here. Alex Staples, who is one of our kind of head producers on the AV team, is leaving at the end of the week, and he again is one of those people that in the background is doing an absolutely sterling job, is doing an amazing job to make things happen. He's leaving at the end of the week, but generally from all of us, a massive thank you.
Yeah.
He's been here I think a couple of years now, and again he was kind of thrown into the deep end, I think kind of just after COVID or kind of mid-COVID, and he's done a really, really good job, so we're very, very grateful.
Yes, he will certainly be missed here at Momentum. And Alex, wish you... It sucks that you're not in the studio today when we're recording this, because I would have made him come from around behind the desk and jump on camera so everyone could see him. I would have embarrassed him. But wish you all the best in your new adventures. Not sure where he's off to, though.
And maybe he's going with you. I don't know. Maybe he'll be
Maybe he's going to be flying the plane.
Who knows?
We have another goodbye as well. Chris's extensive collection of model planes.
Yes,
they will never grace
that's
this
the
desk
biggest thing we're going to
again.
miss, isn't it? We're not. I mean, it's cost a fortune to get them. Even a small subsection of his set would be, we'd never be able to accumulate them.
I'll see what I can do, boys.
We'll have to just print out pictures and put them on the table.
Yeah. If you do own an airline and want to send us some model airplanes, then I mean that's great. It's free publicity. Just send them in.
Also, if you do own an airline and want to
Get some of Chairman's Lounge.
Yeah, get us or like adopt. We're in the market. If wealthy people who own airlines, if you want to adopt, we are all, we're not as young as we used to be.
No.
But we are open to the prospect.
Yes. Right, now before we go for a break, we have one more announcement. Well, not one more announcement. You had some adventures last week. Tell us a bit about this.
Yes. Big shout out to all of the lovely people at Sydney Flight College. I went to their Wings Night on Thursday, their amazing gala dinner. First time they were hosting at the Wink stand at Randwick because they were previously at the tea rooms at the QVB, but they moved because of, so many people were wanting to come to the events. They outgrew the tea rooms. And this year there was something like 64 recipients of various awards and certifications, which was absolutely fantastic. Shout out in particular to Wilton, who came over and said hi at the gala dinner. Said he was a fan of the podcast. Always good to meet fans in the wild. And just a hearty congratulations to everyone at Sydney Flight College for a job well done. It's not easy to get your pilot's licenses and your certifications. They had to work so hard, and so it's so good to see that the next generation of aviators coming up, and hopefully we'll be at the pointy end flying the planes or having every other job in aviation.
Well, actually, I've got a link here. Talking of getting the next generation involved, I had a mini adventure last week. I hosted a panel for UNSW and their
awesome.
School of Aviation, basically looking at the Aviation Green Paper, which is kind of like this big government look at what's going to be the future of the industry until 2050, and hosted a panel there, which was very, very nice. I'd not been on a university campus in years. It was great. I felt like I was 18 again. It was brilliant. But no, thank you very much for the opportunity for moderating the panel, everyone at UNSW Aviation. It was good to be among young, cool people rather than you two old sods. So that's something. Right, now let's go.
I'm younger than you, Adam.
You are? Well, And
I'm older
we're
than you
all
both.
old.
Be quiet.
Okay, welcome back. So let's steam into the news. I want to start off. We've had a bit of argy-bargy, Jake, with Virgin. Now it looks like two groups of people, cabin crew and ground handlers, they've applied for permission to take potential industrial action. What's the latest here? It seems like it's going to be funky.
Yeah, they've been engaged in sort of enterprise agreement negotiations for a while now. And it looks like Virgin cabin crew and Virgin ground crew, as you say, have put in to the Fair Work Commission for permission to take this industrial action. The TWU is saying that Virgin has not held up its end of the bargain after its staff helped the airline come out of administration and COVID. It booked a $129 million profit for financial year 23, which was its first year in the black in quite a while. Now, this is despite the TWU congratulating Jane Herdlichka, the CEO, on her performance when she took over the job in late 2020. Michael Caine, the National Secretary of the TWU, says that the cabin crew, ground crew and pilot members have all reported fears of mistakes being made due to what he describes as unsustainable working conditions, made worse with high turnover, fatigue-related absenteeism and juggling second or third jobs. He says workers are utterly exhausted, with several cabin crew members reporting near misses on their drive home from long shifts. We need to see a considerable shift in Virgin's bargaining approach to ensure a fair, sustainable enterprise agreement offer and avoid last resort strikes. Now, Virgin has said that the current cabin crew agreement expired less than 2 weeks ago. It has continued to bargain in good faith in that time, and it says it has a clear commitment to relevant unions of its intention to reach an amicable solution on a new agreement. Also took a bit of a swipe saying, quote, the TWU taking this move to go to ballot for protected industrial action while negotiations are still progressing both constructively and within reasonable timeframes reflects the changed industrial relations landscape and is now a common part of the early process.
So this is really interesting because this is kind of a story that I've been in nearly 4 years now, that I've kind of been covering for 4 years and watching it kind of evolve and change. So before she started, at Virgin Australia, it's fair to say Jane Lineker had a bad, not bad reputation, but bad relations with the union from her time at Jetstar. They absolutely despised her. And obviously you had Virgin go into administration, come out of administration with Paul Scurrah, the former CEO, and then he was quite quickly replaced by Jane. The unions were furious because they had a really good relationship with Paul. They felt that he was quite... one of the things they said about him is we don't always agree with him, but we respect the fact he's straight with us,
Yep.
So he was very good at kind of keeping everybody together. Jane come on board, and straight away they were at her. They were furious. They walked away from negotiations, I think, initially. But then what happened, to her credit, is she won everybody round really, really quickly. And essentially she struck a deal, which was, as long as you accept, I think it was like a pay freeze or a freeze in your conditions, then we promise we won't make any more redundancies, or we won't outsource any more roles. So It's kind of like, if you knuckle down and help us, we will also stick by you. So essentially now, 2 years on, those kind of deals are coming to an end. And what the unions are accusing her of is effectively kind of going back on her word. That's their point of view. It's like, well, we took one for the team back when things are tough. You're now making a profit at your airline, admittedly not Qantas profit, but you're making a profit. It's time to come and look after us now. They're claiming they're not getting that. Now, from Virgin's point of view, they would, and they're very polite in their correspondence when they're talking about this. They basically said, look, the enterprise agreement only ended 2 weeks ago. So they're kind of saying, well, you're saying all this strong language, but we were only 2 weeks out here. We're very, very early on. And they do seem like they want to make a deal. But nonetheless, the kind of narrative here is that Jane had turned it round. It looked like there was a really good relationship. Now that relationship has gone a bit frosty. So it's going to be intriguing to see how that plays out.
Look, it's really interesting. Anyone who's been involved in an EBA previously knows that you never have a new EBA before the current EBA expires. It just, for some reason in aviation, it doesn't happen. Further to that, when a current EBA expires, it can be some months down the line, even a year or two down the line, before a new EBA gets signed, and then everything gets backdated. Happy days. You get a nice little lump sum pay when that happens. But the reality is we're 2 weeks out of the current EBA. Which is farm people.
Which is what Virgin has said. Now, I would say, and again, I don't want to criticise Qantas. They've got a change in leadership, but they were quite bullish in taking on the unions. Yes. I think that's fair to say. Virgin are now taking a much more tactful approach.
Absolutely. So
you've had the TW, rightly or wrongly, come in there and be incredibly sort of aggressive. Our workers are exhausted, whatever, and that may be the case. But Virgin, rather than sort of take that back, have been very calm in how they do it. So I think they, from a comms point of view, have handled this quite well so far.
Virgin have handled it extremely well. And I think it's important here for everyone to remember we're 2 weeks out of the EBA expiring. These negotiations will take time. I firmly believe, I don't know, there's something saying that Virgin will do right and honour its agreement. You help us make the airline successful again, and we will look after you when it's appropriate to renegotiate contracts. So the workers have certainly held up their end of the bargain. They certainly have. There is no denying that. And based on the language and the narrative that I've seen come out from Virgin so far since this has made headlines, is that Virgin are keen to honour that deal and are just now in the negotiation dance. And that's all it is. It's a negotiation dance.
It is a dance. And again, without wanting to poo-poo what the TW have said, this is kind of how it works.
Absolutely.
And essentially what tends to happen in negotiations is you'll have a union come out and go, this is horrific, our workers are exhausted, they're not getting paid enough money, this is absolutely terrible. The management feels disgusted with themselves. And then it's like, oh yeah, we signed a deal, it's all good.
Yeah.
So there's an element, like you say, this is part of the dance that happens. And it might sound like, playground politics, but that's just kind of how it's always worked and probably will always work.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And not 100% certain on this, but from what I understand for Virgin cabin crew, their current EBA only permits them to fly 3 sectors a day. So they're one of the lucky ones here in Australia that can only fly up to 3 sectors a day. Not fact-checked. I have not looked further into this, but from a couple of conversations I've had with people that fly at Virgin, they've said we're only allowed to fly 3 sectors a day. So I'm just purely going off what I've heard. As I said, I have not fact-checked this at all. Do not write in. Do not shoot the messenger.
When I said you were a journalist earlier on the team, I might just, if anyone's listening, take that back.
Writing in is not going to do you any good. He's leaving anyway.
Yeah,
It'll be
leaving
us who has to deal with it.
But if you're only flying 3 sectors a day, then you've got it pretty easy compared to some other airlines out here that can be rostered up to 14-hour shifts and 4 sectors a day domestically. So, you know, I don't know. It's the negotiation dance. Be thankful you've got a job in an industry you love. Be thankful you've got staff travel and benefits, and just getting on.
A bit of background. There are 5 key demands that workers have of Virgin. There's 5 key things that they've said that they want. They want the owner, Bain Capital, to commit to addressing what they call cultural issues that have caused high turnover, absenteeism, and disputation. They say they want good, secure jobs for pilots, ground staff, and cabin crew. They want continued investment in technology, fleet, and workers to maintain and grow safe, fair standards. They want an annual $1,000 employee share scheme in conjunction with the IPO, and they want Virgin support for the TWU's campaign for a safe and secure skies commission. That's what the TWU has said that they want.
Okay, welcome back. So the next thing we're going to talk about on a bit more of a positive note is we have been talking for quite a while about this quite innovative deal that Bonza have struck with essentially their sister airline in Canada. So I think at the moment Bonza have, and you may know, Jake, I don't know if it's 3 or 4.
They have four of their own planes.
Their own planes, right? And the issue is that getting new planes now of your own is actually really difficult because we're still dealing with the following effects from COVID in terms of staff shortages in this sort of, you know, and people in the factories, etc. So getting hold of new planes is difficult. Bonza are looking to rapidly expand, and particularly they're looking to open a new base in the Gold Coast. They're not able to get the new 737 Maxes, so they've got this kind of innovative deal with their Canadian equivalent within the same parent group that will see them sort of share and swap aircraft as and when the sort of seasons permit. So as we come into the Australian peak season, they will be sent some aircraft, and in future when our season gets a bit weaker, I'm not on the Bonza payroll. Bonza, sure? Bonza will send some planes over there. We've had the arrival of the first aircraft. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, this is, as you say, the first aircraft that's been sent over from Flair. It touched down late last week. This is it's a wet lease agreement. The aircraft C-FLKC. It's a 737 MAX 8. This is part of this deal. So Bonza will send its own aircraft to Canada during the North American peak once it has a larger fleet in its own right, because right now it doesn't have the airframes to spare, as a very clever man once wrote in his headline. I may have also written that in my hairline as a tattoo. You'll never know. But Tim Jordan said that he's very excited to welcome the first aircraft lease from Flair. It will be, he says, it's temporarily part of our Purple family on the Gold Coast. Our Canadian mates will be helping us launch our Gold Coast base just in time for the super peak holiday season. The strategic arrangement will see us lease aircraft from Flair and induct some of their crew and pilots into our Bonza family to call the Gold Coast home until February. So Flair has 18 aircraft at the moment. 2 of them are coming over to join the Bonza fleet. And from what it looks like, they're getting this interesting hybrid sort of livery where it's, a mix of Bonza. You've got the purple Bonza tail, and you've got some of that green and black coloration from the Flair. Flair paint. This is
like when you go to a fancy dress party and you have like one side of you is one outfit and the other side is the other, and then you turn either side. This is essentially what they've done to an extent.
I'd say so, yeah. The pictures are interesting, and we should see more of them once the Gold Coast base launches, which I think is tomorrow as we're recording this.
That's quite interesting. So to give, just to explain a little bit of the kind of the mumbo jumbo to those people who don't understand it and have active social lives, wet leasing is basically when you take another airline's aircraft and also their crew as well. So you will book it as part of Bonza, and it will all run like the Bonza experience, but you are getting a different airline. So therefore, the crew will be coming over, and like Tim Jordan, the CEO says, will be welcomed into the family. I love the Goldie. I'd imagine they won't want to leave. Like, I mean, you want to go one back to Canada, do you? Nobody wants to be sent back to Canada.
Yeah, well, look, they've got it lucky because they're escaping the northern winter.
Oh, I bet it's cold up there, isn't it? It's like South
where
Park,
it'll
freezing.
be snow and cold and miserable, and they're going to have a hot summer down under. So,
Oh, yeah, man,
but
get involved.
Get involved.
Bonza.
Get on
But
it.
I have heard that you cannot get a good poutine on the Gold Coast for love nor money. So
Oh no, that's a lie. I've had a lovely poutine on the Gold Coast, and
Don't even know what that means.
have you not had poutine?
Is this an Aussie thing? Oh,
No,
yeah,
No, it's a
man,
Canadian
poutine.
thing.
It's a Canadian thing.
No.
It's like well, in short, it's loaded fries, but
Oh,
with
what, like with
all
cheese
of this
inside
other
it?
stuff.
well, like cheese curds and gravy
that's
and
nice.
stuff.
it's loaded fries to the next level.
Just shades of beige,
Well, I
that's
guess
what I want.
it's sort of a cultural exchange program. They can send us some poutine. We can send them some halal snack packs and see, which loaded fries sort of thing comes out on top.
True. Could do. Well, we could send them some meter maids.
We could.
don't know any of this. It's meter mates. What's that?
Do you know?
Oh, mate, what's that? Meter maid?
Meter maids
Meter
are
maid?
very Gold Coast. So it started. Oh God, meter maids have been around for years and years now. So when Gold Coast first introduced paid parking, people were getting fines. So some of the local ladies would walk around and top up people's meters with coins if their meters were about to run out. So they didn't get a fine.
And wearing like bikinis and
Yes,
stuff, right?
really
What?
skimpy
I don't
bikinis,
know if
so-
they'd get on well in Canada. It would be very cold to be wearing bikini.
So what? So girls in bikinis just come and pay your parking
Yeah,
fine for you?
yeah.
What?
There's meter maid calendars. They've
What?
even got their own website.
Why?
They're
What?
fantastic.
So what, is there hope that you see them and give them more money when you return
No,
to your car?
no.
Or just do it out of kindness of their own heart?
No, they just walk around the Gold Coast promoting Gold Coast, sending people to where you can go, what you can do. Yeah, I'll show you. Google
Well, this
image.
is real. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Meter maid. What?
Yeah, it's a real thing on the Gold Coast, meter maids. They've got a website. They just walk around promoting tourism on the Gold Coast, directing people. Almost everyone knows about the meter maids. You can get a photo with them for a gold coin donation. And they still, to this day, if they will walk around and top your meter up if you're about to run out of parking so you don't get a parking fine.
I don't really know what to say to that. I mean, it sort of undermines the whole paying to park thing because it's like,
Good,
oh, I won't.
good.
I just
Power to the
chance it
people.
because some meter maid will come and save me. I don't say that.
They're not everywhere
Well,
every time.
no, it's you got to. There's like a spotlight that you got to project into the sky to get the meter
old
maid to
Batman
come.
symbol. Yeah.
It's such an Aussie thing. Oh, meter maid.
The meter
Oh,
maids.
meter maid can't save us, man.
Yeah.
Are you having a stroke?
No,
It's very Gold Coast.
Yeah, no.
They don't exist anywhere else other than the
I've
Gold
always
Coast.
said I've loved the Goldie. That's one of my favourite places in Australia. But now I've heard about the meter maids. I'm going to tell this to all my friends back in the UK, and they're going to be like, "What? Meter
Well,
maids,
there you
mate."
go. Next year, when you're up in the Goldie covering
Yeah.
the air show down under, which is returning next year to the Gold Coast, you'll have to look out for a meter maid and get a photo.
Might be a bit creepy. But,
well,
No, they
well, I
take
mean-
photos with tourists all the
Weird.
time.
Apparently you can get good poutine on the Gold Coast per Chris, but you have to admit our maple syrup situation completely woeful here. You cannot get good maple syrup here. They will starve.
Yes, that is very true. As someone, I have lived in North America, just south of Vancouver, when I lived in Seattle, and we would often get the most amazing maple syrup just over the border in Vancouver if we would day trip up to Vancouver. And you just can't get the same thing here. So
What they should have done what they should be doing when the wet lease planes are coming over is, there's not going to be much in the cargo hold, so just stock that up with maple syrup to like get them through this tough time that they'll be experiencing.
They do live on more than maple syrup, but I think
What?
either way, they live on more than maple syrup. But I think, look, either way, the crew coming from Canada to assist in the wet leasing with Bonza will be in for the most amazing trip ever. Like it's a fantastic assignment to be picked on. Living on the Gold Coast for a few months, getting to fly into Northern Territory and experience parts of Australia that most people wouldn't dream of ever seeing in their lifetime. Especially as an international traveller, they're they're in for a treat. That's for sure.
What else do Canadians eat? Tim Hortons donuts, macaroni and cheese instant dinners, I think. Moose burgers.
We're going to have a complaint from like the Canadian sort of embassy being like the appalling stereotypes perpetuated on this show. There's more to this. The tapestry of Canadians.
These hosers are perpetuating such appalling stereotypes, eh?
God. Right. Have we got any other major news stories before we talk about the print magazine? Have we got anything? It's been
there's been a survey. First of all, on the union news from before, there's been a survey released by the Australian International Pilots Association. They did a Redbridge poll of around 1,000 Australians. Apparently, 89% of Australians would feel less safe boarding a flight with just a single pilot at the controls. Now, this is sort of, there's been kind of investigations, or, I guess, not investigations, but like airlines around the world are sort of looking into, using like increased automation and technology to reduce the number of pilots on a flight, or even just have one pilot in the cockpit. This survey from the AIPA is saying, well, hang on. We Australians, according to this survey, would not feel safe, or would feel less safe with just a single pilot at the controls.
Go on.
Look, this is a massive issue, and I guess to put context, a pilot's workload is high pressure. They have to fly the plane, monitor comms, monitor instruments, and effectively get passengers from A to B in a safe and, in an airline's head office regard, timely manner. There have been several instances in the last 2 or 3 weeks in North America where there have been things happen in a cockpit that should never have happened. There was a case of a first officer pulling a weapon on his captain because he didn't like the decision the captain was making. There was the off-duty deadheading pilot who recently pulled the fire suppression system on the Horizon Air aircraft in Washington State or Portland, I think, from memory.
That is in Washington State.
Yes.
I beg your pardon. That's in Oregon. That's in Oregon.
Yes,
don't shoot me any Portlandians.
So
or Oregonians.
There's been a number of instances lately where if we were at single operator,
you'd be in a world of trouble.
You'd be in a world of trouble.
Even if it's not someone going a bit bonkers in these kind of cases, if there is like a mid-air accident, right, I kind of like the idea there might be two people that can have a chat about it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than it just comes down to one person.
Adam, and look, there's a website I follow where it reports incidents around the world within the commercial aviation sector. It's a fantastic website. One of the most common incidents that is trending on this website, well, not trending, but that we see, is pilot incapacitation. It happens.
Yeah.
And back to my crew days, if we were serving the pilots a meal, they could never have the same choice of meal.
Really?
No.
That's great trivia.
They cannot eat the same thing.
That's extraordinary trivia. I love that.
If there was chicken, beef, or seafood on board, both of them couldn't opt for the beef. They had to have a different meal
in case
there was contamination or poisoning. So pilot incapacitation is real. There's been plenty of instances around the world where a cockpit team member has suffered a medical incident during phase of flight where the other cockpit team member, first officer or captain, has had to take over controls of the plane and land the plane immediately due to a medical incident. So it's dangerous territory going to single pilot operation. It's not the way forward. It's okay for general aviation. It's a small little plane, one person on board often. Maybe, you're flying somewhere with a group of friends. RFDS operate on single pilot.
But it's different, though, isn't it? To having a big...
It's totally different.
What I would say, and I agree 100% with what you said, and I was open-minded a couple of years ago, but obviously the more you hear the arguments, the more you realise you need two human beings on there. I don't trust computers to fly the aircraft. I don't trust, no offence, cabin crew to jump in there and, have someone talk them through it. That's obviously crazy. It does make sense. And also, I kind of think, how penny pinching are you if you're gonna go, well, we'll save a bit of money if we only have one person on there. However, the way I see this progressing, unfortunately, is one airline in one country will ram this through, and then it will be like everybody will feel that they have to follow. If somebody does this and they make a lot of money out of it, then it will inevitably happen. I don't think it's the right move, but I do think that not only, obviously, the unions will be ferociously against this, but I think a lot of airlines as well need to take quite a strong stand on this.
Absolutely, they
what
do.
people may not be aware of, and you could be cynical and say he was going anyway. Alan Joyce was very vocal in saying this would never happen under his watch, and he didn't agree with it. And he brought up, obviously, the incident, was it 10 years or so ago, with the A380, where the engine kind of blew up mid-flight, and it was the team of pilots in
Absolutely.
there that were responsible for landing that thing. So he said, we've got an actual example of where having that group saves lives, but you need more airline bosses to come out and say quite loudly, we will never do this.
Yep.
Otherwise it'll end up happening.
Well, I remember, there was one incident, a few decades ago where, the pilots had all had the fish for dinner, and the fish was, contaminated. And so all the pilots were incapacitated. They had to deploy the inflatable automatic pilot, while the retired fighter pilot, decided.
I knew it.
And there was one doctor who may or may not have been called Shirley. I don't know.
God, I knew it was coming.
Look, at the airlines will always say we value safety over profit.
Yeah.
That is a message airlines consistently deliver to the flying public, is your safety is first and foremost our priority. Now, any airline that has come out and said that publicly, safety first, need to back that statement in. We will not endorse single pilot operations. It's not safe.
No.
And Tony Lucas, Captain Tony Lucas, the president of the AIPA, has said flying is the safest mode of transport because airlines have redundancy in the form of at least 2 engines, electric and hydraulic systems, flight management computers, and crucially 2 pilots. Going to your point, a single pilot could become incapacitated, fatigued, or simply overwhelmed in an emergency at 35,000 feet and 950 kilometers per hour. Reducing the number of pilots required on the flight deck undoubtedly reduces safety margins for the passengers, crew, and the wider public.
Also, if you do go to a world where we have significantly less pilots, then that means the whole industry of pilots gets smaller, and therefore less people will go into it. There's a whole world of ramifications if you just chop the thing in half.
Yep.
Right, anyway, we are going to move on now, just finally to talk about our upcoming print magazine. Go on.
We should by the way, mention just before that, Jetstar is doing a refresh of its 787s. We were discussing this a bit before the podcast, but their Jetstar is doubling the number of business class seats, so it's going from 21 to 44, so more than doubling. It's going to be replacing the business class seats with these new ergonomic designs by Recaro. I think
Recaro?
It's called Recaro. There we go. Aircraft seating. It spells like it looks like it should be Recaro. But the economy seats, the premium economy seats, the business class seats. Oh, they don't have premium economy, do they? The economy seats and the business class seats will be replaced with these new ergonomic designs. One of the things that's actually interesting about these new seats is that they're ripping out the seat back in-flight entertainment systems. So that the screens are coming out of the back of the seats on the 787s. And what they're doing is they're replacing these with device holders where you can put your own iPad or phone or whatever you have in there and connect to the Wi-Fi that Jetstar will now be offering on board to get your in-flight entertainment, which Jetstar has said is to basically reduce weight and fuel burn, because those entertainment systems are pretty heavy, aren't they, Chris?
Yeah, they're definitely heavy, and it's not a case that each seat just has a TV screen. Under each row is a little black box, which is the control unit for that row for the in-flight entertainment. And as a Jetstar engineer went on record saying, they're more hassle than they're worth from an airline's point of view. Like, if they break down, it's not just a quick, easy fix. There's software resets, screen repairs, and things like that. So I get where they're coming from in doing it. Is it the right move to make? Don't know. However, Jetstar is a low-cost carrier. So they will become true to that. The only thing I would say, if you are removing the in-flight entertainment system on your Dreamliner fleet, ensure you have charging
There
options.
will be charging outlets in all of the in all of the seats, economy and business. So economy will have seat back device holders, charging outlets, and 6-way headrests, while the business class seats will have device holders, power and headrests, plus a quote generous recline.
This is like when they took the headphone socket out of your mobile phones, and everyone was like, "This is appalling," and it was like, "Oh, we don't use them anyway." So I get it. So I think Scoot, the kind of low-cost equivalent, or the low-cost sister airline of Singapore, they have a similar thing, I believe, on their 787s, which fly like long-haul routes, and they have them without screens, which is sort of seen as controversial. But I was chatting to somebody actually who was on the Scoot flight and was like, "Well, I've just brought my iPad."
Yeah.
So
And
people don't really care.
Look, that's the thing. So providing the consumer is aware that there is that it is a BYO device airline, there's no problem. I have no problem with what Jetstar are doing. The scary thing about this, though, is one of the reasons Jetstar are upgrading their fleet is, number one, it's time to. They're a 10-year-old airframe now. It's scary to think that a 787 is 10 years old now. But in upgrading the aircraft, they're also introducing crew bunks, which indicates that they're planning, crew rest areas, I should say.
Yes, a lie flat crew rest area.
Yes. So in the roof, which is a crawl space. Now, that indicates that Jetstar are planning on operating flights beyond a certain amount of hours, i.e. 10 plus hours, where it would be compulsory for crew to have a lie flat area. So in the news story that I watched on TV about this Jetstar upgrade, they hinted at places that they could soon be flying to Cape Town or Vegas. Not confirmed, and Jetstar have not come out publicly saying we will be launching to new routes. But they have come out publicly saying this refit and refurb will allow them to explore flights to other destinations previously not within range or reach. So the scary part is you could be on a Sydney-Las Vegas Jetstar flight with no in-flight entertainment other than a BYO device. Long way to go.
I would say, yeah, but by the time we get there, now I don't necessarily think most people have iPads, but most people have smartphones, and they're all now pretty big. If you've got a charging port, and if you've got in-flight Wi-Fi
And a device holder.
Then the argument goes, if you're that bothered about a screen, iPads aren't that expensive now. If you're that bothered about it, you're probably going to buy one, or you got one, or you got a laptop even if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's convertible laptops and detachable laptops and all that.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would say is they would really have to look at the fees they're charging for Wi-Fi. A lot of airlines are now moving to free Wi-Fi on board for
Which is what it
long-haul
should
flights.
be.
Exactly right. It should be. You've paid a cost for the ticket. Wi-Fi should be included.
Well, you'd think that at least the sort of in-house stuff would be free. The Jetstar branded entertainment, and I'd presume that the Jetstar in-house stuff would be free, like it is on Virgin, and you'd have to sort of pay for external stuff, like if you wanted to get on the internet or Netflix or whatever.
Yeah. That's what I think they would need to really look at. So if they came out and said it's bring your own device and we're going to charge you $20 for a 5-hour block of Wi-Fi, highway robbery, wrong message to send to your travelling public.
As an aside, by the way, there were some comments on this article, saying that, of course, Jetstar's increasing the number of seats to pack more people in. Actually, because of these extra business seats and because of this lie flat area, the total seats across the aircraft are going to be dropping from 335 to 325. This will be somewhat mitigated by the fact that the lie flat crew rest area will free up 8 seats that would be taken up by resting crew. So it's going to be roughly the same, slightly fewer seats. They're not just packing more people onto the 787s.
Yep. Good on them. I wish them luck, and it'll be interesting to see where they decide to announce that they'll be flying to, other than the short haul. Not short haul. I think the longest
medium haul.
Medium haul. I think the longest flight they operate at the moment is Honolulu from Sydney and Melbourne. So good luck to them. It's exciting times.
Now we can talk about the print magazine.
Go on, right.
Sorry, Adam.
It's all right. It's all right. It's quite a 10 minutes for the tangent there. No, it was good though. It was good. I enjoyed it. So we have both a physical print magazine coming out, which if you're a subscriber, you'll be dropping on your doormat probably in the next few days. And then obviously we will put that all on the internet as well next week. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we've got on there. So my feature was on the Pacific Air Show in the Gold Coast, back to the Goldie. And basically we spoke to Kevin Elliott, who is the guy in the US. He basically kind of runs the thing in California, and then obviously has transported it to Australia. What's quite interesting is he never actually came up with the idea. He was never involved from the start. It was set up by two people who came up with the idea, and it worked really well in terms of the flying spectacle. It failed miserably in terms of making money. It lost an awful lot of money. I mean, he kind of took it over and was able to kind of make it work. And then what happened is COVID kind of obliterated his company. He told me he had 60 staff and then he had 17, sort of lost it all almost. And but in the thick of this COVID misery, had one eye on Australian expansion and was able to get it going. So he's sort of telling the story of how he's done it. What's really fascinating about this is how I say it's a revolutionary idea. It's an obvious idea, but nobody'd ever really pulled it off as well as him. There are other beach air shows, but not really on that scale. And essentially the concept is you go to an air show, watching the flying is great. Everything else about it is rubbish. You go to the middle of nowhere to a hot, dusty airfield. You get a disgusting, overpriced burger from the van. Everything's a bit grim. And his concept is you bring the airshow to the people and you try and aim it at young adults and at families as well. So you say to the av geeks, by all means come along, you'll love it. But we're also trying to reach a wider audience, which I would argue most air shows aren't nowadays. So we're trying to modernise it. So it's quite an interesting story. And it's interesting because you've got a huge recruitment problem in aviation at the moment. We have an underlying lack of engineers, pilots, cabin crew, just about anyone. And one of the reasons, I think, is that too often aviation is preaching to the converted. So they're trying to go out there and get new people involved. And obviously, the Kevin Elliott and Deanna Knott, who is kind of the main person on the ground organising, they're obviously, if I interview them, they're going to big up what they're doing. They're going to give a promotional push. But their enthusiasm for it was genuine. And I think as a journalist, you get a good kind of nose for when someone's having you on and when they genuinely care. Those two loved it. I was super impressed. So we've got a feature on that. Jake has done an exhaustive feature on the
and an exhausting feature.
And an exhausting feature on the end of the, well, not the end of the maestro, the other maestro, Alan Joyce. So Jake, tell us a little bit about it.
I'm not going to have to do a timeline of Chris.
No.
Go on.
Yeah, no. I've done it. I've sort of put together a timeline of key moments in Alan Joyce's career. You know, starting out at Jetstar, through the early years at Qantas. You know, through the A380 incident, and the fleet groundings and A380 fleet groundings, all of these different crises and opportunities that beset Qantas during the Joyce era, and sort of basically charting how this Qantas CEO transformed the company. Speaking of that, we've also got an interview with Peter Harbison, who has published his book Alan Joyce: The Trials and Transformation of an Australian Icon, talking about what he thinks are the main features of the Joyce era, which is going to be a premium podcast very soon. And there's also an excerpt from his book that you can see in that feature, just an Alan Joyce mega feature.
So if you want to subscribe, head to australianaviation.com.au and you can find all the details there. Otherwise, I think that has to be just about it for this episode. We will once again say goodbye, and Jake, let's give him a round of applause.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
We'll have him on back. We'll have him on again.
I will be back.
But no, thank you very much. It's really appreciated.
It's been a pleasure.
On that note, we will wrap it up. I'd say goodbye to Jake.
Goodbye, Adam.
And a big goodbye to you, Chris.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Jake.
And me and Jake will be back, God willing, next week. We will see you soon. Goodbye.
See you then.
Bye, guys.